All right, today we're tackling a word you've probably heard, but maybe don't fully get. We're going way beyond the label Ladyboy to really dig into the human experience behind it, the people, their stories, and, yeah, the politics.
So you've probably seen something like this, right? Some travel vlogger throwing this term around really casually. It's often painted as, just another part of the scenery in a place like Thailand, almost like a tourist attraction. But that casual throwaway line, it hides a reality that's so much deeper and way more complicated.
Okay, so let's break this down. The word ladyboy is basically the Western take on the Thai word kathoi. Now, in Thailand, kathoi can refer to a trans woman or an effeminate gay man. But once that word travels west, it gets complicated. It's become this really loaded term, often used to turn people into objects, into a fetish, especially in the whole tourism and adult entertainment scene. It just boils a person's entire identity down to a curiosity.
And that leads us right into one of the biggest arenas where this all plays out, dating and relationships. And let me tell you, the perspectives here are like night and day.
Okay, so here's one side of it, and it's pretty raw. This is framing a whole interaction as a business deal. The value of the person, the value of the time spent together, it's all measured in pesos. It's just so dehumanizing, right? A potential human connection is literally a sunk cost that's considered a waste if it doesn't end a certain way.
And then there's this, the complete opposite. This isn't about money or getting something out of it. It's just a sweet, simple, human moment. That little spark, a real connection, the kind of goofy happiness that makes you grin all the way home. It's such a powerful reminder that behind all the labels and the noise, these are just people looking for love and connection, like literally everyone else on the planet.
So the big question is, how do you navigate this with respect? Well, this chart lays it out pretty clearly. The do's, it's all about listening, being mindful, and doing your homework. And the don'ts are just as crucial. Don't make assumptions, don't ask super invasive questions, and for sure, don't treat someone like an experiment. At the end of the day, it's simple. See the woman, not a category.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about outside perceptions. But to really get it, we need to flip the script. Let's move from how the world sees trans women to how they see themselves. Because this is a journey, an internal one, that starts way, way before anyone else is even paying attention.
Listen to this. This is from a woman named Harbella on the Trans Crush podcast. What she says just gets to the heart of it. This isn't some choice you make when you're 25. It's a feeling, a deep down knowing that goes all the way back to when you were a little kid. It's just who you are. It's always been there.
And on a journey like that, having support is just everything. Harbella talks about her mom being fiercely supportive. Like, if she came home crying, her mom was at that school the next day, ready to go to bat for her. That kind of love and acceptance from day one, it's a game changer. It gives you the safe space you need to actually become yourself.
And this right here, this hits on one of the biggest, most frustrating myths out there. People ask, why would you choose this life? And that question just completely misses the point. As Harbellina says so powerfully, I had to do this for my own sanity. It's not a choice, it's a necessity. It's about survival. It's about finally feeling at home in your own skin.
All right, so let's pull the camera back a bit. We've talked about the personal journey. Now, how does society reflect that journey back? Well, the media is like a giant mirror, right? And for decades, that mirror has been, let's just say, pretty distorted. It's been showing a very specific and often very damaging picture.
And you can actually see this evolution pretty clearly over time. You go back to the 50s, and Christine Jorgensen becomes this huge media sensation, a spectacle. Fast forward to the 90s, and you get movies like The Silence of the Lambs pushing this truly awful trope of the trans person as a villain. It wasn't until really recently, with a show like Pose, that the script finally got flipped. We started seeing trans actors playing trans characters, telling their own stories. A huge shift.
And all those years of bad representation, they leave a mark, a big one. This Reddit user nails it. For a lot of people, their whole idea of a trans woman is basically a caricature. It's either a joke about a man in a dress, or they just confuse it with drag. And look, these aren't just harmless mix-ups. They genuinely shape how people think. And that gap between perception and reality, it has some really serious consequences.
And those consequences, they've exploded onto the political stage. This has moved way beyond a cultural conversation. We're at a point where someone's personal identity is a political football, and the trans community is right in the middle of it.
caught in the crosshairs.
So you see reports like this from the Congressional Equality Caucus, and they spell it out. This is a coordinated political attack on LGBTQ+ rights. Think about that deeply personal journey we were just talking about. Now imagine that being debated on the floor of Congress by politicians. We're talking about basic things like healthcare and just being legally recognized for who you are, all hanging in the balance.
And this number, just look at it, 93%. A study from the Williams Institute this year found that 93% of trans people are worried about what another Trump presidency could mean for them. That's not a statistic. That's a near unanimous cry of fear and deep uncertainty about the future.
And it's not some abstract fear either. It's based on very real threats. There are bills being proposed right now to restrict access to gender-affirming care, which, by the way, is life-saving care. They're trying to ban books with trans characters from school libraries. They're trying to stop trans people from serving openly in the military again. This isn't just talk. It directly affects a person's ability to live their life. So, wow. With all that pressure, how do people even cope? Well, it turns out resilience looks like a lot of different things. That same study found that more than half of people are just tuning out the news. They have to, for their own mental health. A lot of folks are finding comfort with their pets, which who can't relate to that? And then you've got about a third who are taking all that anxiety and channeling it into action, into activism. So it's this real mix of protecting yourself and fighting back.
And all of this brings us to one final, really important question. We've seen how one little word can spiral out of control. We've seen how a personal, human journey gets twisted by the media. And we've seen how that distortion is now being used to fuel political attacks. So when perception actually becomes policy, the battle over the story, well, it becomes a battle for survival. So you have to ask, whose stories are we hearing? And maybe more importantly, whose stories are being erased?